Every time we go out to do photography, we are taking hundreds, if not thousands, of photos. But are we experiencing less because we're photographing more? Is our photography suffering due to a lack of purpose? Would we actually be better shooting less and observing more? Have you ever returned from one of your wildlife photography trips? You sit down at your computer, you're looking at all the photos that you captured, and you have this series of photos of this one particular bird. And yet you look at your photos and you're like, I don't even really remember seeing this bird. I don't even really remember this moment. Or perhaps you've done just the opposite. Perhaps you took just a handful of photos of a particular subject, and yet you created something with a lot of impact. Today, we're going to take a look at the question, are we taking too many photos?
Trapped inside the mind of a dreamer, losing sight of all the visions in my head.
Hey everyone, I'm Jeff from Magnolia Photography SC, professional wildlife photographer in Charleston, South Carolina. If you're new to the channel, I want to welcome you in and thank you for joining us. And if you're returning to the channel, of course, I'd like to welcome you back. It's great to see you again. Digital cameras just make it way too easy for us to overshoot. And even though our discussion today doesn't really include smartphones, there's no denying that the age of the smartphone and the development of the cameras on them is something that really adds to this dilemma of overshooting. We usually always have a smartphone on us. And of course, we can whip them out at any time and just fire off a bunch of photos. But whether we're talking about smartphones or digital cameras, because they're so easy to take pictures and because there's really no cost associated with taking those photos, it becomes so easy to overshoot, and we create these massive photo libraries that many times we never revisit. How many of you out there have photos that are on your computer that you've had for quite a while that you've never gone back to look at again? They completely remain unedited, untouched, and unviewed. So the question becomes, does the mindset of quantity over quality dilute the joy that we get from photography? Not too long ago, I posted a video asking the question, or really dealing with the question about feeling unmotivated when it comes to your photography, right? Losing that inspiration to do it. Do we think that perhaps overshooting is kind of leading to some of these feelings and some of these issues of feeling unmotivated? Of course, we can make a lot of arguments for overshooting, right, as not really being a negative thing, but perhaps maybe being a more positive thing. We can argue that taking more photos is going to provide us with more opportunities to ensure we're catching some of those really amazing moments that happen out in the world of wildlife. We can also make the argument that if we're shooting more and taking more pictures, that the repetition and the practice that comes from that is something that's going to help us overall with the learning process, and it's going to help us to be better photographers at some point along the way. But let's flip back to the other side for a moment, because there are certainly plenty of arguments that can be made for this side of the fence as well. Does overshooting create editing fatigue? If you go out and you're taking 3, 4, 5,000 pictures, and every time you do this, you have to come back and you have to cull those images and you have to go through and edit those images and you have to add keywording and do all of those asset management tasks, does all of this become a little too overwhelming? Does all of this become too much at some point? Is this why our photo libraries can grow out of control, and maybe why some of our best images may never see the light of day? Does overshooting disconnect us from some of the things that really matter or matter most when we're out taking photos? Does overshooting take our attention away from good composition, good lighting, and things along those lines? If we are shooting a lot or overshooting, are we taking more of a spray and pray type of approach because our approach to photography just lacks any real purpose or intent? Does overshooting make our photography feel more like collecting rather than creating? Are we just out there taking pictures, and when we get in our circle of photography friends, it's like, yeah, I went out last week to this location. I took 4,000 shots, right? It's kind of like the number of shots that we captured is like some sort of badge of honor, right? You probably know photographers like this. It's not really that they took a single good shot, but they just took a lot of shots. So how do we discern between all of these things? If you think that you might be kind of going out and kind of getting stuck in this approach to wildlife photography or photography in general, maybe you're a landscape photographer, or maybe you do some other type of photography, but if you think that you might be going out and kind of falling into this trap of overshooting and you're focusing more on quantity than quality, then I have a couple of tips for you that might help. Number one, set a limit for the number of photos you can take on any given photography session. If you're going to go out and photograph wildlife, and let's just say that you can go out and dedicate 3 hours to it. Well, we know wildlife photography, we tend to take a lot of photos simply because we're shooting in burst mode, right? So when we hold that shutter down, we're taking a group of photos pretty quickly. So this can be a little bit difficult because if you're photographing a flying bird and you're tracking them for a while, it's not really that difficult to take a couple hundred photos. So we kind of got to take that in mind when we're photographing. But I think the point here is that if we can limit the number of photos, like I said, if we're going to be out there for 3 hours, maybe we limit how many photos we can take to 300 or 500. And even if you're photographing that flying bird, it might mean that instead of holding down that shutter and tracking them, maybe you're kind of taking more of an approach of feathering that shutter, not photographing the whole time. As you're tracking them, you hold down the shutter, take a few pictures, take a break, hit a couple more as it continues to track, and so on down the line. So you're kind of limiting the number of photos that you're taking, but perhaps that would be a good way of going. Maybe instead of just saying, oh, something's moving, I'm going to just hold down the shutter and take a bunch of pictures. Maybe at that point, if we know that we can only take so many photos, we're going to just be a little bit more aware of what we're photographing and how we're photographing it. That can be a great way to kind of help us break out of this overshooting habit. Number two, before taking any photo, you have to ask yourself this one question. Why am I taking this photo? You're going to have to ask yourself this question pretty quickly if you're dealing with wildlife. Because if we got a moving subject, we don't have time to sit and necessarily decipher over this question for a long time, right? We got to take action. You might be able to answer this question really quickly in your mind, like, hey, this is a great species that I've never photographed before. This will all happen in a split second, of course, but maybe that's what you're thinking. Hey, I've never photographed a species before, or you know what? The lighting is absolutely perfect today, and I have yet to get a good picture of this species. There could be a lot of different reasons why you should be photographing that species, but let that question run through your mind really quickly before you start hammering on that shutter button. Number three, observe your subject. We can learn a lot from just stepping back and watching for a few moments. And we can actually become better photographers, not by taking more pictures, but by better understanding our subject's behavior. Being a proactive photographer is going to lead to far better opportunities than being a reactionary photographer. If we're reactionary, we're just shooting and we're hoping and praying that we catch something at some point. that they do something at some point, and we often miss the moment because we become impatient with all the photos we're taking and the moments that we're not capturing. But when we take a moment to learn that behavior and we go, oh yeah, when they do this or they do that, I know that they typically are going to follow it up with doing something like this. Well, then we are far better prepared as a photographer. And now we can proactively be on the lookout for these types of behaviors and what follows that. And that's what's going to allow us to catch better and more moments that are more impactful. So I know it might mean missing a few more shots in the beginning as you're trying to learn more about their behaviors. But in the long run, it's going to put you in positions and it's going to provide you with opportunities to capture better photos. Number 4, curate ruthlessly. Well, we know as wildlife photographers, when we're out there in burst mode, we come back to the editing room and we've got strings of images that are pretty much identical, if not identical. Well, there is a real art to looking at those photos and culling those images very quickly, but pulling out the best 1 or 2 images that you're going to keep to edit. We don't need all of them, right? We don't need to hold on to 30, 40, 100, 200 images that are duplicates. We just need to pick out a handful of images that are the best. Maybe they're the most sharp, they have the best lighting, whatever the case may be. Pick those out, put those aside for the editing process, and then just get rid of everything else. Or maybe put them in another folder for experimental editing practice, right? Something that you can use for practice somehow. But for your main photo library where you're really focused on your best images and editing your best images, just pick out those couple and keep them there. Number 5, experiment with film style photography. For those of you who remember the days of film photography, you had to go out and you had to buy rolls of film in order to take pictures. And maybe you bought something with 24 exposures or 36 exposures. Well, what if we kind of treated our digital cameras the same way? What if we went out there and said, you know what, instead of shooting on burst mode today, I'm going to put my camera in a single shot mode and I'm going to just give myself 36 exposures. How do you think you would approach photography and that photography session differently if you really limited the number of exposures you could take, right? Imagine that those 36 exposures are costing you whatever a roll of film is going to cost you, right? I think we would really look at the process of photography a little bit different. Now, again, this is not something that you need to do every time you go out, right? But these can be fun things to do whenever you go out to do photos. If you're going to be out there for 3 hours, maybe for the first hour, allow yourself that time to take those 36 exposures and see what you can create. Compare it to other times that you've gone out and you didn't do something along these lines, right? Think about the types of pictures you created. If you limit yourself to 36 exposures, were they better? Did you notice a difference in the way that you photographed your subjects? Or did you notice a difference in the way you observed all the different subjects in that area while you were really thinking about your 36 exposures? I'm curious if you see things differently, if your mindset changes. Those are fun exercises to do, and it can really help us to make improvements, make serious, quick improvements in our photography. I leave you with this final thought. Maybe photography isn't about how many moments we capture. Maybe it's really about how we experience the ones we choose to capture. What do you think? Do you think that in general, we tend to take too many photos as photographers? Or do you think that taking more photos is always better than not? I would love to know what you think. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Let me know what you're thinking when it comes to this topic. Hey, are you tired of paying monthly fees for your photo editing software? Well, it just might be time for you to check out the brand new DxO Photolab 9 software with brand new tools that include AI masking. If you want to check it out, head down to the show notes. I have a link in there. That'll take you right over to DxO Photolab 9. And you can go ahead and either download a 30-day free trial and check it out for yourself. Or if you decide you want to make a purchase, just be sure to use my discount code to save yourself 15% off. At the time of checkout, just enter the discount code Magnolia and you'll get that 15% off. You can also head on over to magnoliaphotographysc.com/store. By the time this video posts, I do expect to have my brand new DxO Photolab 9 Masterclass out, which will also be available for purchase. But if it's not there by the time this video posts, just keep an eye out because it will be coming out very, very shortly. Other than that, there are some other resources over there in my store for wildlife photography and the art of wildlife photography that you might want to check out. They might be of interest to you. So be sure to check those out. I have both free and paid options. Hey, thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate your time. Before you go, you really might want to check out this next video though.